Greetings and salutations, Internet. It is I, Wolfphototech, and here we are with another delightful video. This time, let's talk about Warhammer Fantasy Role-play 2nd Edition. A game that came approximately, say, 10-ish to 13-ish years after the 1st edition was released. This almost has the record for the most longest supported TT. Warhammer First Edition almost has the longest supported first edition of a system, just coming just short of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition and Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. This version of Warhammer was actually helped design and developed by Green Ronin Publishing through Black Industries, which was a part of Games Workshop. So, interestingly enough, after Boar's Head dropped Warhammer First Edition, Games Workshop brought it back and then got Green Ronin to work on it. This book, the MSRP is completely irrelevant because it's that far old. But let's get the page number here quickly. You have approximately 254 pages in this book. The price can actually vary quite a bit online, as there's both a soft cover and a hardcover version of this book. Please note that the border is a simple the pages have a parchment style feel to them in appearance, but they're actually just magazine pages. And it has a very simple border and style of artwork throughout the entire book, replicating, say, medieval artwork of the ages past. It is also important to note that being that this is only like 250 plus pages long, the pages are really condensed in details and information. There is artwork spread through the entire book. However, all the artwork is smaller, and all the text is a lot closer together. However, they do a very good job of changing or choosing different colors to work as headers for different sections and piecing pieces of artwork in spots that breaks up periodically. So it doesn't just turn into nothing but an endless track of letters. One of the exceptions to that is down here. This is basically all the people and all the contributions to this book. Up on top here is the table of contents, which goes through everything. You have the main header, and then you have all the important details through there. Chapter 1 is introduction. Chapter 2 is character creation, which is a fairly long section. And then Chapter 3 is careers, which is basically Warhammer's equivalent of classes. Chapter 4 is skills and talents. Chapter 5 is combat, damage, and movement. Chapter 5 is equipment. Chapter 6 is combat, damage, and movement. Chapter 7 is magic. Chapter 8 is religion, belief. Chapter 9 is the Game Master section, as this is a core rule book. It contains everything you need to run a Warhammer 2nd Edition adventure. Respiratory damage from ages ago as a teenager. That's why I cough. Chapter 10 is a section on Empire. Chapter 11 is the Bestiary. You have careers, creatures, animals, and NPCs. Chapter 12 is Through the Darkwood, which is an adventure. And then you have various indexes and little sections in there. Designer's notes, indexes, templates, and character sheet. And this is one of those exceptions to what I said earlier about having long sections of text. It's just here, life, after, and death. There's a key right there, and there's letters denoting the beginning of a major set of paragraphs. A little bit of history right there. Welcome to Warhammer section. What is role playing? Reading the dice section, and more. And then you get into more of the standard pattern of how the book is constructed. You have a nice big piece of artwork for the beginning of this section. You have big red text for a major beginning of a section here. So you got these two box sections right here, and then you have this section right here, what's in this book, and then it continues on from here, explaining chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth. You got important note about reality, just getting people in the mind frame of understanding reality in relationship to Warhammer. An example of play right here, which is referred to as a replay in Japan, which continues for a few pages here. Upon the matter of the Empire spot right here. They always like to break it up a little bit and make it clear. This is beginning of chapter 2. Typically, they will have a big piece of artwork at the beginning of the chapter, either across the top of the pages or down the side of one of the pages. You happen to have a nice big emblem right here for character creation, chapter 2. It starts with a quick rundown list of all the steps for character creation. So if you're just reading as you're going along, you come to that list, you get a good mind track as to what is coming in sequence. And they are even so nice as to put in page numbers. So choose your race, pages 15 to 17. Generate your characteristics, pages 17 to 19. Record your racial features, page 19. Determine your personal details, page 21 to 26. Roll for your starting career, page 20. Record your details of your career, page 20. Take free advice, page 20. Start playing Warhammer Fantasy Role-play right after that. And it basically just walks you through it. You have, it's important, I have to back up a second here. Right off of that list, you have dwarves right here in the bottom. As I said before, this book is actually fairly dense. They don't break it down into page-by-page sections here and there as you go along. You get basically a little chunk here of dwarf, and then you got your elf, and then you got your halfling. So you got the last end of your dwarf, and then you have your elves right here, halflings, humans, and then you go through your characteristics right here. It basically gives you an overview on your career profile boxes and all your important stuff, key abbreviations on things so you understand and what each little symbol or thing means in depth. Various tables for important character generation of details based on your ancestry, and so forth. It moves from there. They don't really waste any pages in this book with just having a big piece of artwork with a little bit of text right here or anything like that. They basically just make sure that every little section gets used, but they make a very good point in putting bold headers here and there and boxing everything else off, making it clear that this is something entirely different from this and this. And same thing with this. You got examples of pages for your character sheet, and then you got text here and here. The only thing I don't like about having a little tiny block of text right here in this gap here, and a little tiny box up here, is if you're reading in a hurry or you have ADHD, sometimes you will move from one page to another, and then you completely miss an important section of detail as you're going along. So it takes a moment for you to actually need to slow down a little bit and then double check the page quickly as you go through. As I said repeatedly, they make a very good point of making as much use of the page as possible, but also organizing it fairly well. There's just those occasional moments where you get a little piece of information tucked between two pieces of artwork. Or tables, or examples. Dangerous, a little script here of dangerous knowledge, table 3 experience point costs, and so forth. Putting it all together, career format, explaining the careers and how they're organized, and then you have all your careers. This is a nice thing I actually kind of like about Warhammer, is that all the career information that is important to you as the player and the game master is easily in one of these little box cards that this is all the stuff you need to know, other than basically how to use the percentile system or point system when you buy to upgrade a skill or ability or a trait as your character. So there you go. But in this system, you have a lot of you basically have a lot of classes or careers. In Warhammer games, you typically have like 150 careers, typically 2 per each page. Each one has its own theme. You gain certain skills that give you bonuses to certain things and also lead you into another career. The interesting thing is I have not played Warhammer Fantasy Role-play. However, I've talked to several people who have played Warhammer Fantasy Role-play, and they generally describe it as building out your character's life story. And an interesting side effect of the Warhammer career system being the way it is, like you go through life and you decide to go into being a bailiff or a lawman or a bodyguard or a boatman or something like that, is that your character gains some skill sets, and you then, as you're taking on a new career and you're learning new skills, your character develops a story on themselves about being a bodyguard to the noble, or a bone picker, or a burglar, or a burger, or a camp follower, or a bounty hunter, or a charcoal burner, or a coachman, or an entertainer, an envoy, Estelo Diatoto, ferryman, field warden, fisherman, grave robber, hedge wizard, hunter, initiate, jailer, Clement Kossa, Kinth band warrior, marine, mercenary, messenger, militiaman, miner, noble, Norse berserker, outlaw, outrider, peasant, pit fighter, protagonist, rat catcher, road warden, rogue, rune bearer, scribe, seaman, servant, shield breaker, smuggler, soldier, squire, student, thief, thug, toll keeper, tomb robber, tradesman, troll slayer, vagabond, valiant, watchman, woodsman, zealot, and then you got an anointed priest here, artisan, assassin, captain, cat burglar, champion, charlatan, courtier, crime lord, demon slayer, demagogue, duelist, engineer, explorer, fence, flagellant, fearer, ghost strider, giant slayer, guild master, herald, high priest, highwayman, innkeeper, interrogator, journeyman wizard, judicial champion, knight, knight of the inner circle, master thief, master wizard, mate, merchant, minstrel, navigator, noble lord, outlaw chief, physician, a pistolar, a politician, a priest, a racketeer, a scholar, a scout, a sea captain, a sergeant, a spy, a steward, a targeteer, a vampire hunter, a veteran, a witch hunter, a wizard lord. And there you go. Each one of those classes can be upgraded into another one, and when you do so, you gain access to a different set of skills you can buy, and different set of points or skills you can level up, traits or abilities you can level up, so forth. And then you got Chapter 4, Skills and Talents, which basically explains how all the little skills work and how to use them. such as your academic knowledge or your animal training or blather or animal care, how to gain skills, and so forth. Just lists and lists of skills and what they do. Then you have your chapter 5, which is equipment, which I kind of missed the first time when I was listing it off in the beginning, which goes through all your stuff and your quality and craftsman level of the equipment. As I said before, there's not a whole lot of artwork to it, but there is some really nice artwork here and there. And then you have a chapter on combat. Oops. Combat and damage. Where does that start? Oh, I just kind of like slid back. Yeah, there's combat and damage chapter. This time it's over here in the back. Or artwork is down the side here. It explains surprise, tracking time, combat rounds, actions, advanced actions, which is specifically to stuff you learn from your specific classes, and so forth, making an attack, ranged attacks, and more. Combat examples on the battlefield, damage and healing, various tables for that, and much, much more. There's also some natural damage as well as some diseases or poisons that can actually occur, jumping and falling, and much more. Then you have a section on magic. Warhammer has a more chaotic magic system where you can actually fail at casting a spell, and then if you fail badly enough, consequences happen, you know, which makes it more interesting from a standpoint of you just don't push a button and a thing happens, and much, much more. I just skipped past a bunch of the spells. There are actually quite a few spells. There's just typical arcane spells. There's rituals and folk magic, and much more. Then there's stuff on lore of the world and game master section. And a section on the Empire, which is chapter 10. Religion and belief. And interestingly enough, in the Game Master section and Religion and Belief section, there's actually a lot more artwork and maps, because it becomes more relevant because you're in setting. And then you got the Bestiary. A neat thing about the Bestiary is that most creatures are just a little bit small sections like this, where you just have a preamble here explaining what the creature is, its basic stat block, main profile and secondary profile, as well as their skills and talents. This will take a while for a game master to get down on how to use all those skills and talents. You might have to make a card or a page that outlines all your options. Which, incidentally, is, honestly, it's a really neat system for condensing, having a lot of creatures packed into a small section. Pathfinder 2nd Edition does something similar to this, where they have a lot of keywords that tie into stuff like engulf, or flammable, or stuff like that, and so forth, which then keys into a larger explanation, which actually is easier to maintain a standard across many creatures. So basically, once you learn what each keyword does and you get it into your mind, then you could run tons of creatures and have tons of stat blocks for them, and it'd be very easy. But the hard part is getting to that point of learning all the abilities or talents that a creature has, and then remembering them as you're running through and what they do, because you don't have that information here. See, here's the mutants block, as you can see, And unless you know specifically what each one of these skills does, or special rules down here, talent, flee, then you're going to struggle a little bit. There's not a whole lot of artwork for all the creatures in this book. And then at the very end of it, there is actually an adventure. I need to back up here. Get to the beginning of the adventure. Then you have an adventure that's included with the book as well, for the game master to run people through. And that's actually kind of nice to have an adventure in the back of the book. However, this is also the same book that the players would be using. And there is a few players on occasion that will read the adventure. So you're going to have to get into modifying stuff if you want to use it. However, the problem with that is that oftentimes if you are going to be using the adventure out of the core rulebooks for any system that has a adventure in the core rulebook, oftentimes the game master who would be doing that would be an experienced game master. And in that case, they would struggle to modify and update stuff and keeping it balanced and in line with the adventure. So you end up in that problem territory. As always, the writing is always done very well in these Warhammer role-playing system books. I do say that I wish I could add it into the rotation of systems I get to play, but as its standard is for most people who, in this day and age where there's a lot of people who are really into Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, it's really hard to move people from one system to another. But then you also have the whole problem of learning multiple different systems yourself. But generally, as it is noted, every time I've ever talked with people who have played with game masters, who have mastered multiple game systems, they pretty much are always better than the mono-system game masters. Game masters are people who can build upon their experiences and studies to run games and create worlds and stuff. Now, the neat thing is, when you're a game master and you learn, say, a system, and you master that system through and through, you level up from level 0 to level whatever for that system, all the way up to level 100. You have a certain range of skill sets that system naturally builds into you. And you learn and understand how various mechanics within that system may work. However, you may not necessarily have just solid solutions for all the outside edge cases for that system, or you might struggle a little bit with coming up with new stuff greatly far beyond that system. Learning another system, however, on the other hand, will teach you a whole nother set of skills, and as you level up in that system, you will acquire new perspectives on how to solve certain problems. And then you could take skill sets from System A and System B, and you can cross-mix them. And you can figure out new ways how to fix problems with System A in fun and novel ways, and then fix things in System B in new and fun and novel ways, because you understand how this system does this thing and how it does this other system does this thing, and you gain a level of perspective on the logic of how those systems are similar yet different at the same time. So when you need to come up with something entirely new on the fly, or you guys are really sick and tired of this system's say initiative system or round flow, you can easily modify it more effectively if you've learned another system, because you understand how that system does that. But then you also, if you learn a third system, you end up seeing, oh, there's these other options out there. And then from personal experience of having run that system, oh, this system is really good at this thing, not so good at that thing. And then this other system's initiative system is really good at this thing, but not so good at that thing. And you end up gaining perspective. And then you eventually figure out what your players truly like for an initiative system. And you come up with a solution. You might homebrew, say, like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, to have more of to use an initiative system in line with, like, Call of Cthulhu. And Call of Cthulhu uses a standardized use stat for your initiative kind of thing. In the case of Call of Cthulhu, when I run it, whenever a party or players are in a combat situation, all you have to do is you have a sheet. You have a sheet that says what their dexterity is. And you know what their initiative is. And you could actually pre-roll their initiative for them. And modify their initiative up and down depending on if they have a gun out or not. Because if they have a gun out ready to fire, they gain a bonus to their initiative. So all I have to do is, like, I know Cole's character has his gun out and ready to fire. He gets a bonus to his initiative. He acts earlier in the round. Just simple as that. And then when combat happens, so like the party gets into a hustle with a group of cultists, all I have to do is ask, okay, Cole, I noticed you have your gun out. You have a bonus to your initiative. Boom, you are a first. The party can just decide whether, hey, does Cole want to try to shout at them and talk it out, or does he want to start shooting, or so forth. And that's how Call of Cthulhu does that job. It just has a number that's on your character sheet, and you just have to know that number, and then boom, that's your initiative position. Pro tip for Call of Cthulhu, which Seth Sorkowski gave, when making a character for Call of Cthulhu, always spend a few extra points. Just take a extra point here and there if possible. If your game master allows you to roll an extra D10 to add on to one of your stats, take an extra point, or 2 or 3, and stick it on your dexterity. That way it's not just 55 or 50 or 60, but it is 76 or 77. That way, when it comes time to make initiative, by simply having that one extra point right there on your stat, you can easily take off in combat. First, you clarify that you are ahead of anyone else who has a 75 because you have a 76. So there you go. I do say I really do like the system. I do really like the fact that it's a very thin book. It is actually fairly dense. It covers all the essential stuff you would want for such system. It looks like it's in that nice 3.75 4-star territory. However, many people in the Warhammer community, Fantasy Role-play community, will denote in comparison between Warhammer 1st Edition and 2nd Edition. Warhammer 1st Edition is a little more deeper and robust and has a lot more options, where Warhammer 2nd Edition is more in line with... it's more streamlined in a few areas, but it has a few more options in other areas, like some adjustments you can make and a little more things. There is another YouTube channel. I cannot pronounce his name. It starts with a Z. He has a pumpkin for an avatar. He does a series of type in let's make a character for, and then you take your TTRPG like Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remaster, or something like that, and you'll come right to his channel, and he has this cute little flump character or dice is that he animates to talk to you about the process of making a character, and you can go there. That's another thing I like to do, as I like to redirect people to other channels that do things that are better than how I can do them with my current setup of equipment. So I'm not about like hoarding all the subscribers to myself. No, you can't have my 6 active subscribers kind of thing. It's just like, oh, there's these other people. Oh, you want to know more about Cyberpunk Red? Well, there's this YouTube channel called John the Wise. He's a really good resource. Seth Sarkowski is another really good resource. There's on Cyberpunk Red and so forth. Incidentally, there's not very many super good resource channels on YouTube for Warhammer Fantasy Role-play, first edition or second edition. There's only a few people here and there, like Zigt Moy or something like that. I think that's the name of the channel. He has a pumpkin for an avatar, and he has the Let's Make a Character series, so it should be easy enough to find. But he has a series of videos that has Let's Make a Character for Warhammer First Edition, Fantasy Roleplay First Edition, Second Edition, Third Edition, Fourth Edition, Dungeons & Dragons from 0 to 5th Edition, Pathfinder 1, 2, and Remaster, Starfinder, Call of Cthulhu, and a few other systems tossed right in there, as well as like Vampire the Masquerade and many other things. So he's a good jump-off point to like, how do I make a character? Well, you just go right over here. If you want to know how to make a character for Fatal, he has like a series of videos for that. So go for that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, a magnificent month, and see you next time. Ciao.